Hey everybody, so you picked the top lane video, so let's get started with the top 3 top laners for the summer 2015 split. For my first pick, I'm going to be picking Huni of Fnatic. Now the reason I picked him was pretty easy in terms of like the list that I've created so far, or the list that I had created for this series. Huni was a monster last split, in case you didn't watch. He scored about 451 points total for the entire split, which was only second in terms of every single player. He was only second to his teammate Steelback, who was number 1 at 465 points. And just to further emphasize his number, like how amazing they were, the next highest scoring top laner was about 366 points. So Huni's up here and Cabochard's down here. So if you think about it, easily one of the best players to pick up right now. Not only if you're trying to get the best of a specific role, but he was one of the best players of the split last year, and he's technically the best player available right now that is still currently playing in the LCS, as Steelback is playing in a Challenger series right now, or a Challenger team. So I honestly believe you should pick up Huni first if you can, or as soon as you can, because he's probably one of the best players to pick up right now in terms of just the biggest gap of skill difference between the other top laners and him. And not only that, again, he was one of the best scoring fantasy players, period, last split. And I don't really see him falling behind or falling apart here. His roster's the same. He's still got Forbidden, he's still got Yellow Star, and most importantly, he's still got Rain over his jungler, who, he's even had more time to synergize with. So I expect nothing but similar results. The only problem I have is the addition of Reckless, who I do think might elicit more of a focus on him for the team. He might be focused more like game plan wise. So he might be asked to take more of the kills from his teammates, such as Huni. So I think in terms of that might reduce his score, but I still think he's going to break 400 again. Total points this year. So that's why I think he's the number 1 top laner, if not maybe one of the best players to pick up altogether. So second on my list is Cabochard. Now, Cabochard, again, he was the second highest at 366 points. Very solid. And honestly, Huni kind of shattered the mold of what a top laner used to be, which was kind of like a guy who sacrificed everything, so he would die a lot, which would be -2 points, and it was pretty hard to find a top laner that could put up a decent chunk of points for you. But Cabochard, I think, is a very solid player. I think he's going to be able to put up fairly similar numbers yet again. And let's not forget, he was a rookie as well. I know it was overshadowed by Huni's amazing performance, but quite frankly, I think he's a very good player, and you should pick him up if you weren't able to get Huni. If it was between Huni and him, I'd pick Huni. But, that's just my opinion. That's just based on the stats from last split. Anyway, let's go to number 3 on my list, which is Impact. He had a lot of problems, or actually, I should say the team had a lot of problems. So first off, involving him, he had some visa issues. So that meant he couldn't play with his team, like, next to each other. I'm pretty sure they played with each other, but online, not with each other speaking. There's also the problem of they didn't get to work out their language barrier problem. Zhao Zhao speaks Chinese, I believe. Rush and Impact speak Korean, and I believe the bot lane, which was Apollo and Adrian, I believe, they speak English. So it was kind of like, it was a mishmash of different languages, and they had to rely on smart pings to communicate with each other, which is a huge problem, which I imagine that they have resolved at this point, or at least come to a better way than what they improvised doing during the LCS. So I expect better results from Impact this year. He didn't really score a lot, honestly. He scored about 300 total fantasy points, which is, again, remember, Cabochard was 366 in impacts down here. So I'm I'm hoping a lot of things here, and that's why I put him at number 3. I'm hoping that he not only is going to perform like he did at the end of last split, which was pretty great, but I expect that Rush is not only going to be well prepared for this split like he wasn't last split. He wasn't prepared for this team environment that he was put into, but I think now he's going to be a top performing jungler and is going to be able to help with impact. And if you think about it, one of the 2 people that don't have a language barrier are Impact and Rush. So they'll be able to communicate. They're going to be able to communicate, unlike I was just now, way better than most of the other players. Also, they're probably sitting next to each other, because usually the way it goes is top lane jungler are right next to each other in the seats. So boom, instant communication. They'll be able to coordinate way better than they were last split. And I honestly think he's going to be a perfect fit for your top lane if you weren't able to get those top 2. He also, his roster didn't change, so he's only going to be able to synergize with them further, and hopefully that will reduce the amount of deaths that he suffered last split and increase the amount of kills and assists. So that's my top 3. Again, I'm going to have the link to the other top 3s in the bottom here, and I hope you enjoyed.